Welcome everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Start again. I'm really grateful today because it's a very special time for us. Rowlands Kaotcha is here from Malawi. He is our Global Vice President for the Hunger Project, and he flew in this morning and landed at 7 o'clock. So I'm very grateful that he's had a bit of a rest and come straight into this meeting. So Rowlands is also a member of our global executive team, and he is an international advocate and speaker. He travels a lot. He's actually director of all our programme strategies, and he supports the work that we do in the whole of Africa, Mexico and India as well. He joined the Hunger Project in 2001, which is incredible. It's been 22 years, but he's held a load of senior leadership positions throughout Africa in that time, and I'm sure he will be a fountain of knowledge for us today, so I'm very grateful. I'm going to start off on a very general, broad perspective, because I really think it's really important to ask the bigger questions first. So my question is, what are the greatest challenges that are facing humanity right now in relation to food? And I realise that's a huge question, but I'd love to know your perspective.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Manda. And thank you all of you for coming. It's great to be here with all of you. So don't mind about the jet lag, don't mind about arriving today. I think this is the best way we can spend our time together. And so it's a good trade-off between resting and having a conversation about a topic which is very important right now as we speak. Why do I say so? I say so because each one of us would have expected that by now we should not be talking about world hunger. We should be talking about something different. And yet, here we are. In my generation, hunger is back to the front line of the newspapers, which shouldn't be the case. So it's a big thing. We hear, on one hand, you hear that we have enough food to feed everyone on the planet Earth. Only that we can't get it to the right places at the right time. Where you hear that, on the other hand, you also hear by the well-renowned writers, well-renowned authors, the United Nations itself, saying that actually in their report of the state of food insecurity 2023, that as we speak right now, 783 million people were hungry in 2022. So you hear on the other side, we have enough to feed everyone. On the other side, you hear that actually the reality on the ground is 783 million people. That number in Africa, what it means is 1 in every 4 people were hungry in 2022. And you look at that, it's a big thing. It's not a conversation which is simple and straightforward. So I'm glad we're having a conversation like this, and thank you for your question. Now, straight to your question now. We have heard that, okay, causes are climate change, causes is COVID, there are so many issues of global inequality and many other issues that are causing it. And then the truth is, when you look at that list, all those are actually solvable issues. Actually, when you look at them, you discover that the list, those are human-controlled issues, either caused or kept by humans. So we have created a world system. We have created a global system, which is not only creating hunger, but it is actually sustaining it. That's the stark reality we face right now. I'll be referring to some of my notes here on those speaking points. And so we see that hunger is a byproduct of the global inequality that we have created. Now, I know when I say that, people start feeling bad, but to me, it's not something to feel bad. It is actually a place for us to generate energy, move forward. Why? Because if we have created a global system that has created inequalities, that holds hunger in place, we human beings now have the energy to change what we created, to recreate it and create a new world. That's what gives me, when you look at me, when you ask, for me, it gives me hope that this problem, even if it is big, I know it is big. I don't want to underline it. The issue of world hunger right now, Manda, colleagues, is huge. Yeah. It's big. But my biggest hope lies in the power of human beings who created that system of inequality, because those human beings can change that system, because we, human beings, created it. That's why I say and agree with those people who say global hunger, world hunger, is the greatest solvable problem that we have right now. We need to review the way food is produced, where it is produced, how it is produced. We need to review all those systems that keep that in place. So that is why for the Hunger Project, we actually have a new mission right now. So our new mission is to facilitate individual, right, actions as well as collective actions to transform the systems in our society, in our world, in the globe, to transform the systems which create hunger and hold it in place. Our agenda is no longer to end hunger only, because we are living in a space right now where ending hunger is insufficient, because it means waiting for it to be created. Ending it, but allowing the systems that hold that hunger to remain in place. So we keep ending it. What we're saying now as Hunger Project, we believe in a world without hunger. And so our mission right now is to be able to facilitate those individual and collective actions which cause hunger and hold it in place. That's our new energy. Why we believe that is possible is because we human beings created it. We have the biggest opportunity to change it. So that's really number one. Yeah. The second part is climate change. You will notice that climate change is a big thing right now, globally. And it's affecting a lot of food producers. In Africa, most of the food producers are women. And yet, those are the people feeding the world, and yet they are the highly impacted when it comes to climate change. So we should no longer only look at, all right, how do we support them so that we prevent issues of climate change. We should also look at how do we support them, empower them to mitigate the impact when they have happened. So we should not only focus on preventing it, but we should also focus on empowering those people, build their resilience to be able to mitigate the impact when it has happened. I know we don't have enough time, I would have loved a longer list, but let's leave those two. Yeah. One, our food system is broken. Yeah. We need to fix it, and we need to do it now. Number two, climate change. Let's not only focus on preventing it, but also let's focus on supporting the impact mitigation, especially for those food producers of the world who are women. Evidence is clear, they produce 80% of the food that we eat, and yet they have no access to all those production systems. So
yeah, that's a really important point, because when I was told that last year, I was really staggered that if 80% of African women are producing all the food, they are the ones that are not getting access to this, and they are the ones that are suffering with their families and their communities. And I think you've made some really excellent points there. For some people who have never really come across the Hunger Project here, you know, I will later on try and explain with you some of the overview strategies. But one of the things I've done during COVID was explain that when we talk about world hunger, I think people always think about the images of people going hungry in war zones and in real critical conditions. But the Hunger Project was started and is continuing to work with the 92% of people that are undergoing ongoing, long-term, sustained hunger and poverty. So the things we see on the TV is only 8%. And that blew my mind when I heard that, right?
Yes.
So only 8% is the relief effort that's needed to help hunger, whether it's Turkey earthquake or whether it's, you know, Ukraine or wherever. Now, unfortunately, in Israel. But I think 92% of the world that are suffering hunger and poverty, of that 782 million people you talked about, are long-term. Some of them have been undergoing this malnutrition, hunger, poverty for generations. And so the Hunger Project's aim is to do a long-term sustainable impact, right? So what I wanted to ask you is, with all these huge challenges, what do you see as the solutions to these challenges going forwards? And more importantly, how is the Hunger Project working to help with these?
Thank you, Manda, for that. Now, so before I get there, let me just comment on what you mentioned about famine, disasters, and chronic hunger. So what gets into the newspapers, what gets into the front pages and all that is mainly those disasters. And yet the majority of people that are really losing their lives, the development process of the young children being impeded, the capacity to process and grow into a full capacity human being impeded, are in the category of chronic hunger, and it's never reported. That's the danger of it.
Yeah.
Now, coming to your question on what we see as solution, first of all, I'll say local leadership. During the time of COVID, when there were lockdowns, you know what happened? Everyone ran for their life. Everyone. And I sat down there. Welcome. And I sat down there. I looked at what is happening. Okay. Born in Malawi, raised up in Malawi, everything. My school, education, everything in Malawi. Okay. So I sat there, I looked at what is happening. Where are people running to? And why are they running away? And who is staying behind? That thing made me revisit certain things that I believed in were right, but just that COVID thing proved them to me that they were right then when the Hunger Project was starting. That value is right now, and that value shall be right forever. Everyone ran away. We all went out to seek safety. We even saw expatriates being called back home. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, let's open eyes and see what was that telling us. And we sat there, we watched communities. You know what was happening? Certain people had no place to run to because all they have is where they stay. That's their world. That's their identity. That's their land. That's their place. That's their space of leadership. We saw local leadership change the way they even bury the dead. They buried their dead. They had conversations on which culture should we change to fit into this. They found a way of feeding each other. They found a way of taking care of the sick without medicine, without vaccination, without gloves, protection in the hands. They just stood there for each other. The local leadership showed us, for the first time, it showed the world, this is who we are. And they managed that COVID situation. Government shut down. I don't know about governments here, but governments in our place, in Africa, they were declaring lockdowns without clear ways of how to feed those people. So the people had to figure it out. The local communities did that. I said, let's see what will happen when the lockdown is over, when COVID is over. And then the world opened up. What pains today is to see us going back to our old ways of doing things. We missed completely. The biggest lesson of that time was recognize the leadership of the local people. They just showed up and took their place. That's where the local leadership belongs. And any development effort which does not recognize that, displaces that, minimizes that, pushes those people to the back and takes the front seat, that effort should be rejected. And I see it everywhere.
Yeah.
I see it doesn't matter how good intentioned it is. Thank you for it. That's great. But if it does displace local leadership, because that's what COVID showed us. I know there's bad things we feel about it. We lost our loved ones. I did.
Yeah.
I lost very close family friends. Some of them I even failed to go to their funeral, to their burial time, because we had lockdowns.
Yeah.
I wish that I could drive there, couldn't. It was painful to watch it on video. It was painful. That's not in our culture. We don't do that. You go. But you know what? It just showed us the place of local leadership. Now, what does the Hunger Project believe in? We believe in what we call community-led development. And that's what we mean. We mean local leadership driving their own development agenda. We are partners, so we come in to partner with them. We come in to support them. We come in to train them, but they do take their own leadership place. That's why our process is bottom-up. Program ideas are born from the community. So when we talk of the programs that I'll be talking about today, the people leading those programs are actually community leaders themselves.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. To fix whatever, the solution, the biggest one to me, recognize local leadership. The second one is make local food systems work. Africa traditionally has got a tradition of producing food. We may produce it in different ways, different types of food, but we do produce it. When you talk of food systems today, when you talk of how to fix, when you hear people talking in big meetings about how to fix the issue of world hunger, what you see is a focus on make big, gigantic global food systems work. What they focus at is how do you ship food from one place to the other. Make that shipment process, that food chain, that supply chain, make that work. That's where billions of man are going in. And yet we just saw it. During COVID time, no one could ship food. So that system doesn't really fit 100% as an answer. We need to rethink on where we put investment. Now, yes, we might say, that was a disaster time, COVID, but now, I can give you an example. Right now, we have places in Africa which are really, really in desperate situation because of lack of problems in shipment of food because of the war between Ukraine and Russia. It's having an impact there. These are proving to us that there is there is a shift we need to cause in our investments. Start putting those billions at the local level and make the local food systems work. We have seen the shipment of big, super processed food to make that work. Okay, super processed food. The end result, what is happening? It's being blamed now for the double burden of malnutrition. So it's time for us to come back and think carefully and say, how do we make local food system work so that it produces healthy and nutritious food? And where should we invest those billions of investment of money? That's why I love the work of the Hunger Project. It invests there and make the local food system work. I'll give you an example. I was traveling recently in Uganda. I mentioned to you about Uganda. I made a house of Farida. All right. Farida in Uganda has what is called a mixed use household farm, where you have livestock, you have trees, you have what. It's a place you walk in there, it's like, wow, this is harmonious production of food and nature and animals. It's like, it's paradise to be in. I watched that. We went into Farida's house. She offered us pumpkin porridge, can you believe it? Made from fresh, I've never tasted it anyway. I was with our global president, Tim Prewitt, the CEO. He tasted, it was like, wow, I saw him like, I'm like, look at him. He just loved, he says, I've never tasted something fresh like this. Farida belongs to a club of women trained by the Hunger Project. They are producing not only for themselves, but they're also producing for their local market. When there was a lockdown, this local market was moving within there. You see it in Uganda, you see it in Benin, you see it in Malawi, you see it in Mozambique, you see it in Ghana, in all the countries where we are working in. It's a huge example of not only producing locally, but also producing in harmony with nature. So it solves all those problems that you see, right? I'll talk also about recognizing the role of women as producers. Remember, I spoke about the challenge we have about women. We know they are good producers for all of us. 80% of the food we eat is produced by women in one way or the other, and yet they are not fully supported. When it comes to access to credit, there's a problem. When it comes to land ownership, there's a problem. When it comes to collateral for access to what, there's a problem. When it comes to accessing agriculture technical service, there's a problem. You find it skewed towards men and not the real producers. So what policies should we pass in our countries to make sure that we support women producers? That's why I'm glad with the Hunger Project, what we do, one of the pillars we do, we call it Start with Women. Now that does not say ignore men. Here I am, I'm a man, but I do recognize the importance of starting with women. Why? Because when you train a woman, when you empower a woman, we call it in Africa, you have empowered the community. Because they are the ones that feed you anyway. They are the ones that cook for you, and yet, according to our culture and all those things, they eat last. They put you first. They dress you, they care for you, and all that. Why don't we start taking these approaches where we empower women economically? So we have what we call village savings and credit, where women come together, we train them on putting savings together. They raise their own savings, they borrow from there, and we train them in businesses, and we see lots of them do different types of business. I was amazed one day, can you imagine? One woman said to me, Rowlands, I don't need the Hunger Project anymore. Now, some people on that team I was with were not happy with the statement. you felt like, oh, she's very disrespectful. How does she say that? For me, one of the statements that has kept me in the Hunger Project is that one. Yeah. It plays over and over. When I face challenges, it plays over and over. When I face situations which I feel like, oh my God, what are we doing? It plays over and over. Why? Because for the first time, I heard someone tell me that you are now irrelevant. Can you imagine? One day we wake up in this world and the situation out there tells us to say, this that we do now is irrelevant, let us focus on something different. How would that world look like? To me, that was not arrogance. To me, it was a testament of self-reliance. Yeah. And even to get that brevity to speak that to me, you know, there's this master servant syndrome with most of the NGO development work that we do out there. That, oh yeah, we communities first, and yet truly there's that master submissive servant, such that they can't tell you that. When she said that, I said, there is no master servant syndrome here. She just said it as it is, and that's what I want to hear. So the goal of the work of the Hunger Project is to get to a place that we call self-reliance.
Can you talk to that about how many, because that blows me away, how many people we've got to self-reliance through the epicenter strategy?
So what we do is when we go into a community, the goal is to mobilize communities together so that they are not like individual. Remember I said facilitate collective and individual actions to transform systems, right? So not that people should only be one, everybody doing their own. So we say bring together a community, a cluster of around 15 to 20 villages, which is around 15,000 to 20,000 people. Big enough to be a community, but small enough to have a sense of belonging and come up with one development agenda. Okay? Then we start those trainings, right? The first training we do is called Vision, Commitment, and Action, VCA. The goal of the VCA is to initiate a process of mindset change. Now people say, oh, you're changing people's mindsets from what to what. That's patronizing. I understand that. It could be. But the question is, mindset from what to what? It's a mindset shift from dependency to self-reliance. From, okay, superhuman being exists somewhere who sends me food and they have to fix my problem. And they will drive into my village. And I depend on them every year. If you ask me, that's what brought me to the Hunger Project. That's what has kept me in the Hunger Project as well. Because when I was born, that's what welcomed me in this world. I saw it. First day I could recognize it, I saw it. When I finished my first degree, come back to the village, I saw it still happening. Good intention, but it created dependency. That was the first day I said, there is no way. If this was the end, the way to fix hunger, there's no way. It can keep on going like this. And then now I'm finishing my first BSc and it has not fixed it. There has to be something else. What is that? It brought me into a place of inquiry. Long story short, that's how I got into the Hunger Project. Nice. So the VCA workshop is to empower mindset change, to engage communities. You can end your own hunger. You can become a master of your own destiny. Your skin color has nothing to do about who you are. I tell you, when we talk of who are you, sometimes we answer it wrongly. So who are you? What do we say? I'm Rowlands. Okay, so who are you? I'm the Global Vice President of the Hunger Project. That's what I do.
Not who you are.
That's not who I am. Who I am is completely different. You and me, on who we are, we are both superhuman beings. We can change this world, and we're not different. Social constructs change us to be different. Skin color changes to be, causes us to be different. When we talk at the basic human level, a child born in Africa, a child born in Morocco, a child born in Kenya, a child born in the US, a child born in America, a child born in UK, a child born in Afghanistan, a child born wherever you can mention it. On the same day, they breathe their first breath, they make their first cry. On that day, those babies have equal potential. Equal potential. They are not different. You start differentiating them with the social constructs around them, the way you bring them up, the first word you speak to them, things you do to them, and all. You start changing. The world starts changing them. But that's not who they are. That's the purpose of the VCA workshop. When I came to this tool of the Hunger Project, the Vision Committee, it changed me. Yeah. I said, that's it. That's what I wanted, and that's it. Because I am not different.
And it's powerful.
It changes you completely, because when you discover who you are, you become unstoppable. When I was in secondary school, that's high school here, I nearly dropped out of high school. Why? My parents could not afford a black shoe, which was a school, like the reason for you to be their school uniform. Come on, this country of mine, they know that the majority of people live below $1. And they put a rule in school. What are you trying to do? You don't just copy rules from the Western countries and place them there. Yeah, black shoes look good. But what you're saying is half or 75% of your children will not be able to sit in class. That's what you're saying. Someone just copied it. And teachers could come and kick us out. It was painful. I felt it. They could kick me out of class. People laughing. I felt it. My parents could not afford it. It was not their choice. They could not afford it. It was painful. At that moment, I had two choices. Submit to what I'm facing, drop out of school, go on the street. And some people could say, you were justified. That's how some people have gotten on the street, right? You were justified. Or turn that and say, it ends at me. It ends at Rowlands. My siblings will not experience this. My children will not experience this. It ends at me. And that's what I chose. I could go to my dormitory, put my sheets on me, start crying. But in my cry, I say, it ends at me. And with those subjects, I went to the teacher and said, you're kicking me out. It's not my choice. But you are treating me like it is my choice. But today, I make my choice. And I want you to know my choice. Your subject, I will get a distinction. If you ask me today, what was your inspiration for that subject for you to get a distinction? I wanted to prove to the teacher. Now, I have a choice. And I got it, and I went to university. That's what vision, commitment, and action of the Hunger Project does. Starting point. When the mindsets have been changed, not patronizing, to change you to discover yourself and the power and the ability you have. Then we come into a conversation of, now that you know you can change your situation, what do you plan to do? This is different from saying, I have come. We did it in Kenya. So we have come, we're going to do it here in Zambia. And this is how we're going to do it. That's why you heard stories of that big company that went into Zambia, invested, tractors, everything, big watermelons. All of them were eaten by hippos.
Yes.
You heard about it?
Yes.
All of them eaten by hippos. The people were just watching them doing that because they are like, they didn't ask. When the hippos ate them, they were like, why didn't you tell us this? You didn't ask. You didn't ask. You're doing it. It's not ours. You see that? So when we do that and you come up with programs, we support the training. we support provision of skills for those trainings. So we have in agriculture, in education, in microfinance, young people in entrepreneurship and all that. The purpose is, after 5 to 8 years, that community should be at a place where it declares self-reliance. What is self-reliance? We now have the capacity to be on our 2 feet and continue this journey on our own. It doesn't mean our problems are finished, all of them. No. It means we have the capacity to face new problems and deal with them. And we've seen communities like that. Face new problems, watch them, they deal with them differently from other communities. That is self-reliance. Not that you did not face any new problem. And how many are those now? I talk about Farida. Farida is one person in Uganda. How many are those now in Africa? 1.2 million people in 74 communities have declared self-reliance. And we have 29 communities still counting on the line. That's so, to answer
and that covers, and
that's a long answer to your question.
Yeah, but it blows my mind because when I, during COVID, I heard it was 57 epicenters and then it's 74. Now more.
Actually, during COVID, we had epicenters, 3 epicenters declared their self-reliance during COVID time. And they had their own celebrations. And we make it a big thing. They had their own celebrations. We did not go there because we're not traveling then. Yeah, but they sent us videos and said, this is how we are celebrating it here.
It was amazing. And that covers, so just so people understand, that covers, we're not just talking about just hunger and poverty, we're talking about healthcare and education and nutrition and all
water,
those areas.
Access to water.
And
so
all health those, for women,
yes.
You know, childbirth and all those, and it actually, in India, it's affected our vision commitment action workshops when I went to Rajasthan. I mean, I spent a lot of time very emotional because they are now using those amazing transformations to actually stop child marriage in England, India and Bangladesh in a really sustainable, long way. And that, you know, being Indian myself, I spent a lot of time crying because it really moved me that these women was taking this so much further, as you said, to change their communities, to change their cultures for the better.
Exactly.
And stop the practices that are not right.
Exactly.
And that all started with the VCAs, which is just like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you, because I'm here already. I think I'm here already. We are managing our own time. When I'm talking on TV, you have to stop. Stop. And you're like, oh, I want you to say this, stop. But I think there should be a benefit of us being here in person. And you need to hear this. There was this community in Africa. They have a traditional practice. It's called cleansing the spirit of death.
Oh yeah, this is a brilliant story.
When I heard it, I was humbled. I must be very honest. It sized me down. And I remember, okay, so even though I'm a champion of this, I'm no champion. What they believed in is that when a woman loses her husband, when her husband has passed away, within 3 days of mourning, they're crying, they are burying that person. They believe that the spirit of death was still hovering in that village. Okay, on the relations. So if you don't appease it and cleanse it, it will go on another household. It can kill someone. So you'll be dealing with death after another, death after another. You need to cut it. And they had a culture, a tradition of, they would identify a man to go and have sex with the widow. All right? And when they have sex, it means they have cleansed her from the spirit of death, because she needs to be cleansed. And in that ritual, for us, we're talking about, okay, condoms and all those things. They say in that ritual, you don't use condoms, because if you use a condom, the spirits will be mad. They don't like condoms. Can you see Can you see something there? You literally see something is taking advantage. This is the moment the woman is so powerless to defend her rights, even though she may know about condom use, but she's powerless. Now you are dealing with spirits, you are dealing with culture and all that. And so you apply the vision, commitment, and action workshop to different thematic areas. You apply it. What does it mean in agriculture? What does it mean in nutrition? What does it mean in education? What does it mean in health? What does it mean to managing, stopping the spread of HIV? What does it mean? You put all those there. And this community actually realized in that process to say, wait a minute, actually, our own culture, for good reasons, is predisposing our widows to catching the virus, because we don't know the status of this man that we brought. In fact, she doesn't choose. The elders of the village choose. And there are men who are good at that. They pay the elders so that they should be the one chosen. I want to do the cleansing. And through the VCA workshop, they realized to say, culture is not God-given. Culture is a social construct. That's what they discovered themselves. They realized that. Number two, they said, we can change it. The same space where we are now, that we created a global system that sustains hunger. And I'm saying, you know what? That's what gives me hope, because we created it, we can change it. So they agreed to change it. Now, what fascinates me about their story is that if I took a paper now, gave each one of you, and I want you to know, I respect you very much. You're very well-learned people. You've figured it in life. If you had not heard this story, I'm sure you wouldn't be able to tell me how to fix that problem. Because even I never thought about it. I don't think there's any PhD holder could figure it out. This is what they said, because the easiest thing we could do is stop it.
Yeah.
That's the superiority thing. Stop it, do it this way. You're so primitive, that's not modern, that's what, stop it. And they look at you, they say, come on, okay, we'll stop it. When you're gone there, come on. She doesn't understand us. They modified it. They said, we love our spirits. We still believe in the tradition. We still believe in our culture. But we want to defend ourselves. Now we know it is predisposing us. And they still believed the cleansing has to be done. And they still believed it has to be done through sex. Strange. But this is what they do now. So the husband has passed. The widow is here. They will go to the widow. They will check the line of the widow and identify a couple which is already married. But that couple is related by blood to this widow. In one way, there can be your cousins, can be your nephew, can be what. It doesn't matter. Can be long. Doesn't matter. You just have to be connected with them. Then they'll go, the elders will go to them and ask the husband and wife to come to the house of the widow. Right? And they give them a room. And they make love. Now you ask me, they would make love at home, right? They're a couple, right? So, in any way, it could be one of the things they do. So it doesn't matter. The only thing they've done is to change their place of making love. Instead of their home, they have come to make love in the house of this widow. As they are doing that, they say, we are doing it for our relation. Soon after that, the wife, the spouse of these two that were making love, cooks porridge quickly, hot, and takes it to the widow to give the widow to eat. In such a way, they say there is a connection. They're building a connection to the act they've done on behalf of the widow to give the porridge to the widow. When the widow eats, the porridge quickly. She has to eat it fast as it is hot and sweats a bit. That means the spirits have accepted. And if you ask me, this is a hot area.
Yeah.
There's no way you can drink a cup of tea and you don't sweat. Impossible. And the spirits are accepting everything, every ritual. If it's not done, they will repeat it. They will repeat it. And you can be assured that at one point the spirits will accept. But it's 100% acceptability level as far as I know right now. That is very safe, very respectful to their culture, and it's very easy for the community to change. Which PhD student could come up with that? No one. But that's the power.
Yeah, and that's and for me that I've heard that so many times,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful story because the animators that we use, the people that run the VCA workshops, just facilitate, and we talk about facilitation in this life, you know, in the UK, but they're taking that to another level. The facilitation they're giving to those people are the elders and making them feel totally respected, totally, you know, the ability to make their own decisions. And as you said, when Kathy told me this story, they sat round under the tree for hours, I don't even know if it was days, to figure it out. And it was their figuring it out and understanding what underlies HIV and the spread of it. Because if you didn't get that bit, then they wouldn't be able to come with a solution, right? So they had to understand the problem, but it's giving them the empowerment to make their own decisions, and that's what Hunger Project's about.
Exactly.
And that's such a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be. We digressed a bit there. You asked me about the solutions.
We did. I said that
Maybe mention the other solutions.
there was some. So I was asking about solutions to
Yeah.
challenges, what we're doing to work
Yes.
with them. We talked about epicenter strategies, and I just love to get some ideas of how it works in the different countries, because we're in 13 different countries in the world. Everywhere's different. There's not one solution for all.
Yeah.
So I'd love to sort of get a bit more of an idea of how we work in different countries and the strategies we use.
Great, thank you. And so, in a minute I'll get to that. I'll also mention about, let me just mention the other solution there, which I think sometimes most of the times we miss it. Recognizing, I've talked about recognizing women leaders. We insist in every committee that we create. You see that woman there laughing?
Yeah.
That's a VCA workshop.
Yeah.
Most of the times, the women are at the back, seated. They should not say anything.
Yeah.
We insist in meetings like those, allow the women stand. We insist it has to be 50-50 or more women than men in the committees when you create them, because you want to make sure female leadership is in front. The other thing we have to insist on right now in Africa, and I think it's in the whole world, is to leverage youth leadership. Because we like it, we don't like it, they are in a majority. By 2030, 42% of the world youth will be from Africa.
Wow. How much? 42?
42.
Wow.
I thought India.
It's going up. We cannot ignore it. It's a double-edged sword as it stands right now. Either it cuts through this side or it will cut through this side. If it cuts on the left, we're in trouble. If it cuts on the right, we're good. Again, the power in us is in us. Because this edge, double-edged sword, it can cut whichever. If we choose not to, it will go where it won't. The choice we have to make now is, how do we leverage young people's leadership for the end of hunger? They are a majority. I know how they love agriculture, but we present agriculture wrongly. We present it as for the, not cool people. We present it as something you do because now you're done with life.
Yeah.
Then you turn to agriculture. Agriculture can be fancy, can be good. You come up with technologies. You can use technology, leverage technology for agriculture, market connections. if they like using apps and all that. I've heard about Hello Tractor. This is an Uber tractor. It started in it started in Kenya. It went to Nigeria. It's now in Uganda. Uber agriculture or Uber tractor. It's like someone owns, a young person owns. You finance a tractor because not every smallholder farmer can own a tractor.
Yes.
Why? Doesn't make economic sense. One young person owns that. They have an app. You book it there. So they have a booking agent who manages the booking, right? And provides it to an operator. And then it goes to CatVet. So they can actually track it. It's on this farm now, it's on this farm.
Wow.
It's so fancy and all that. They love doing that, and the financing system and everything. At the end of the day, you know what? It's making agriculture work. I mean, you give them to sell cassava in the normal cassava, they will not. But introduce strawberries. It's a cool crop to deal with. So that's, how do we have a conversation with the young people in a way that we leverage technology, we leverage new way of thinking, we leverage the youthful energy and bring it into agriculture. It starts from agriculture. I visited Malawi again recently with this new, it's a small, young, very young couple. They're involved in agriculture. That's where they started from. They diversified into a barber shop, which they are using solar in their village. They went into farming of livestock. They've just become like one after the other, one after the other. It's a big thing. Now they're growing soya and groundnuts. They formed a club, soya groundnuts. Their government recognized it. And now they have given them a grant to build a warehouse for group marketing. And the young guys love doing that. The young ladies love doing that because they say, no, we don't sell our produce on the market there. No, we have a system. We actually follow the prices on the phone and all that, and we bid and all those things we discuss. We say, no, we are not. Oh, we're selling to Blantyre. And we make them compete on our phones and all that. We make buyers compete. To them, it's exciting. They are organized. People come to see them. They are becoming a story. So we need to leverage that.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you asked about how our different places work differs and all that. So the end result is self-reliance. How you get to self-reliance can differ. So I just explained about what I was explaining is the epicenter strategy in Africa. You go to India, we call it elected women representative. That's the model, the approach. We work through elected women representatives. When they have been elected, they are trained, they are the ones conducting these trainings with their communities, and then support their communities to access the services from the government in each one of their sustainable development goals, including issues of child marriage, child education, water, healthcare, all those. When you go to Mexico, we call it, what we call here epicenters, Mexico calls that municipal, like municipals, make self-reliant municipals. Again, the same approach of Africa, but in a way that here it respects their culture, because in their place, the government is able to supply things, but you have to build people's capacity, people's agency to demand those. When you go to India, to Bangladesh, we have what we call SDG unions, Sustainable Development Goal unions. Again, as you can guess from the word, it's bringing, for all these, one thing that you're going to find common. Different names, but there's one thread which is common across all of them. You bring communities together, you build their agency so that they meet the need that they are looking for. They are able to place demand for service provision from their governments. they are able to come together and do it on their own. So adaptations do happen in different places, different names, but the core across all of them is the same.
Excellent.
That's how we're working.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. And then just finally, before we do go into question and answer, it's been fascinating, by the way, so thank you. I'd really like to just bring us back to, we've had this incredible work towards a new strategy, new mission, vision statement over the last few years. And Tim, who you mentioned, has been quite a major part of that. And they included, when we redid this, they included all the programme countries and the partner countries, of which there are 7. So just so I can just clarify a bit, we have 13 programme countries where we do the work. So that's where all the programmes are, and that's the sort of thing that Rowlands looks after. We have 7 partner countries, including the UK, including Africa, Australia, Switzerland, Germany, Canada, US, Netherlands. So
Sweden, yeah.
Sweden, yeah. So there's a group of countries which are only fundraising arms of the 100 project, and we are critical to send the funds to the programme countries, and it's all coordinated through our global head office in New York. So that is our structure, but we all got together recently and had this incredible strategic framework put together, which involved people from all levels, and they put groups together, and it was really fascinating because I was on a group for 6 months where I had people from the African programme countries, I had a couple of people from Australia and Canada on it, so it was really fascinating. So I'd love you to just summarise for everyone here, because some people here really understood our last strategic framework, and a lot of people here don't know anything about any of our strategic frameworks. So how is the Hunger Project working to approach all the challenges and head towards really focusing on the UN's 2030 sustainable goals?
Great, thank you. Diane, may I have that last slide, please? Okay, the last one. Yes, yeah, so as Diane is bringing it up there, let me...
If you can't see it, I apologise, but...
the last one.
Yeah, just scroll down.
So all those slides I spoke about them as we were talking.
Do you want me to... Sorry.
Last bottom.
Just scroll down.
Down.
There you go.
Ah.
There you go. We'll just play it down.
Ah. Here we are.
I don't know, it's quite small, but I don't know how much people can see.
Right. So when I was talking, I think you already had me refer to, we now have a new vision and we have a new mission statement, and the reason why we have those, right? So that I like the goal of at first was to end hunger, and you heard me say it's no longer ending hunger, it's no longer sufficient. So one thing I love with the Hunger Project is clearing for something, driving global conversations, shaping international conversation. When we were founded in 1977, we said hunger can end, and it should end.
Yeah.
We introduced a new language of ending hunger. At that time, everybody was about reducing hunger. Everybody was in the space of hunger is inevitable.
Yeah.
When World War II ended, the whole global system was in the place of, you know what? Hunger is inevitable. So at that time, our global world built global systems with a mindset of hunger is inevitable. We can only provide a relief or a reduction in that, or temporary relief. But this thing is inevitable. End of World War II. Then, moving forward, you've even seen it with the UN. The Hunger Project said, we can end hunger. You've seen it with the UN, moving from inevitability of hunger to a place of we can cut hunger in half. That was the drive of the Millennium Development Goals, right? Until 2015, when we got the Millennium Development Goals, even though we did not achieve all of them, but it gave the whole world an impetus to say, actually, from what we have achieved this far, we can truly end this thing. That was the language the Hunger Project was pushing. Well, there was a pushback. We went in meetings. I remember standing up in meetings and saying, we can end hunger. You are insane. I said, why? Hunger cannot end. Why? We can only reduce. Why? Because that's why. That's what it is. That's how it is. Who said that? Who created that? So you keep asking me why, up until they come to a point that, then you know, aha, now let's have a conversation. But we looked stupid in certain conversations when they looked at us. Because they said, these guys are insane, these people are insane. But here we are. 2015, the world realized we can end hunger. There was another shift from we can reduce by half. We came up with sustainable development goals. We saw head of states sign. We can end hunger. Now, we are saying, and remember, we do not only do that work on the ground, bottom up, we also drive conversations at the top.
Advocacy, yes.
We cleared for something. We cleared for the end of hunger. Now we are clearing for a new world without hunger. Because ending hunger in itself is not a final agenda. It means allowing systems which cause hunger and hold hunger in place. It means allowing them to persist, but do the work of ending. So what we're saying is, great, end, but we want an agenda of creating a new world. That's why you see that our vision is a world without hunger. And that's why you see that our mission now is to facilitate individual, like the examples of Farida and all those people that I give, individual, it has to be there. Each one of us, as I'm talking right now, here, we should be able, when we sit down, to ask ourselves and say, what is my role? What is my role in this new world without hunger? And what is it calling out of me? What will be my way of being in this new world without hunger? What are the systems I need to confront? What are the silent conversations I need to have? We do all have silent conversations. When you're alone, seeing your ceiling or closed your eyes, whatever state you're in, when you're alone, that brings you home. What type of conversation are you having? What is your leadership role in this space now for the world without hunger? And then collectively, as we've done here, together, what will be our role together? To confront systems that create and sustain. That's our mission as we're moving forward. Now, I hope, and I'm sure now it's clear to say, now we know why we changed. Yeah. Not that we did not achieve the first one. No, it's because in the space we're in now, we're moving. Yeah. And this now is what is relevant for the now. And that's the space we're being called into. That's why you've seen that shift. So people ask, why did we change? Why that first one was really good. I loved it. It was fascinating and all that. There was the words like this. Yeah, it was really good. We love it. All of us love it. But you know what? There's this shift going on. We are clearing for something. Now, that's what we have to clear for. A world without hunger. And confront these systems. Now, as I was talking, I also mentioned about, you know what? Leadership, local leadership. The voice of community leadership, the voice of the communities is missing out there in conversations like this. Imagine you hearing from a community member, this lady I spoke about who said, I don't need the hunger project anymore. Imagine you listening from her right now, talking. How would that feel? Her telling you to say, this is what happened to me, that's why I don't need the hunger project anymore. How would that feel? It's time for faces of the Rowlands to start disappearing from the stage. Let the real champions shine. Why should we always tell their story? They can tell the story. We can support them to be on the stages in the places where they have to speak out and tell their story. Who gave us the mandate that we and only us shall always tell their story? It is our role to bring their voices to the front. Let the world hear. That's one of the accelerators we've seen. It's going to accelerate our work. Let people hear. We hear so many negative things and all that. Let people hear those voices. Let these voices tell our governments, our world, that we can do it and we did it. So we call that an accelerator. Yeah. The other accelerator we are seeing is the power of the next generation. What do I mean? You heard me explain about the young people. So now it will be so easy to explain about this house. It looks like a house or whatever. It will be easy to explain because the things I was talking about, they are plugged in there. That's where I'm picking them from. That's another accelerator because if we activate that and leverage that, we got it right. Yeah. Right? The other one that you're going to see there, engagement with private sector. Remember I spoke about the food system, the way we've created it, that it's aimed at processing or shipping the processed food and all that. What type of new partnership do we need with the private sector at the local level, which will make the local food system work and different from the one that we have now? That's private sector engagement as we're doing our work on it. So these are the three accelerators that we're going to look at. I'm sure that just by saying this, some of you are like, oh, what's happening with women leadership? Don't worry, take it easy, we're going there. Now, in between accelerators and down there, you're going to see what we call imperatives. Imperatives are non-negotiables. For us, we are the Hunger Project. These are non-negotiables. Issues of gender. We call it gender-focused community-led development. It's not just community-led development. Gender-focused community-led development. Remember, climate change is not gender-neutral. Conflicts are not gender-neutral. Hunger is not gender-neutral. Everything we talk about, they are not gender-neutral. They affect women more, girl children more. They are the ones raped in the front line of conflict. So we cannot give that a blind eye. We've not changed our stand and will not change. It's an imperative, non-negotiable in our work. Conflict is now non-negotiable. To build our strength, to be able to work in a way that we avoid conflict, promote peace, at the same time work with communities that are dealing with conflict issues. As I speak to you right now, we have had to suspend our program in Ethiopia, one of the areas in Ethiopia. Conflict is choosing us. We may take a stand and say we don't work in conflict-ridden areas. That's true. Still remains like that for now, but the truth is it's coming our way. So what do we do? How do we prepare? How do we build our muscle? How do we make sure that our programs are actually, for example, can you imagine a VCA workshop tailored towards conflict? What would that do? In Burkina Faso, a wonderful working epicenter, Amanda, in the northern part, really good epicenter. The terrorists just came, dispersed everyone, started capturing people and all that. People ran away. Okay? Look what happened. When they ran away from there, they regrouped in another place. They started saving money. They started saving circles. They started businesses. They transferred their accounts from here.
Wow.
Because the money was with the bank.
Yeah.
They continued there. They got in touch with the Hunger Project. Facilitated issues of access to water, to education and all that. The group came together again. The terrorists or whosoever group grabbed their land, but they could not grab their hearts and their spirits. That's how powerful our work is in conflict areas. For us, when we saw that last year, our model was tested. We're like, what? You mean it has this capacity, this power? We didn't know that. But the community has just proved it. It's there now as I speak in Burkina Faso. The other area is, I spoke about technology, leveraging the young people on issues of technology, right? Climate change, food and nutrition. These are the 5 imperatives. They have to appear in what we do, because these are the real things communities are dealing with on a daily basis. Now, between accelerators and imperatives, in between here, you see what we call enablers. For us to deliver on what we have promised in our new strategic plan, we need a new way of being. So enablers are about us. Okay? So you have imperatives, non-negotiables. You have accelerators we are going to do to drive the whole thing. But in between these two, the bridge here, if that bridge doesn't work, we're in trouble. That's about us. We need to come up with an ecosystem of funding and implementation that works for a world without hunger.
Yeah.
Not the one that works for the other agenda. Not the one that works for patronization. But a one that works for a world without hunger. What does that mean for you here as you raise money? We need to build that ecosystem. We need to be innovative and robust in our learning. That's why next month in Uganda, we are coming together from different countries for a meeting, a learning session on what are we learning? What type of cross-fertilization do we need to have? What is it that we need to start harvesting right now from the experiences of the Right to Grow program that is being implemented in the 5 countries where we are working in across the globe? We should not lose that. We should be humble enough to learn and innovate. The third one is our operating system, right? Maybe some of the things we need to do is to reboot ourselves.
Yeah.
And have a clear operating system, because we feed it, it gives us what it's the same, right? Unless maybe we reset it and reboot it. We need to be one THP. And what does that mean to us? One THP. So these are about us as enablers for us to deliver. At the bottom of that house, you find principles. Those principles have not changed. They are the same principles that you know about us. Holistic, decentralization, transformation, gender equality, human dignity, sustainability. All those are the ones that you already know.
Yeah.
So that's the house of our new strategic plan. And that's what we are driving for now up to 2030. 27.